Okay, good morning everybody. Let us begin with our metta recital. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, virtuous and endowed vision, removing desires for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. With this metta thought in mind, as usual, we continue our meditation. This is a very short period of meditation, and yet it can be quite productive if we follow the instructions. Let us pay total attention to our breathing, noticing the breath touching the rims of our nostrils, expanding our lungs, expanding lower abdominal area as we breathe in. As we breathe out, lower abdomen contracts, chest area contracts, the breath leaves our nostrils. These functions are invariably taking place when we breathe in and out. And then we notice the feeling of our breath, perceptions, volitional formations, and consciousness. All of them are also rising and falling much faster than the rhythm of rising and falling of the breath. And noticing this very natural rhythm, the mind gets so used to it that it doesn't try to hold on to anything, because everything is rising and falling. And then the resentment or restlessness, resentment or anger also fades away. When the mind is relaxed, body is relaxed, the breath is relaxed, when everything is relaxed, in the relaxed state of mind, rigidity, uptightness fade away, and then the resentment or anger goes along with them, disappears, leaving room for the feeling of metta. We feel metta only when the mind is relaxed. And then it leads to the compassion, karuna. When compassion arises, restlessness and worry also fades away. Worry can come from various sources, and that fades away when compassion arises. And then sleepiness and drowsiness fade away when the mind is becoming active. Mind becomes active. Seeing the results, we get encouragement. We want to look forward to the next achievement, and therefore this enthusiasm keeps us awake, alert, without sleepiness and drowsiness. And then seeing all these steps taking place very naturally, confidence arises. When we have confidence, joy arises. This also grows very naturally. We can see how our wonders our mind can do to ourselves. Healing process. That is why the Buddha said, among all medicines in the world, medicine of Dhamma is the best to cure our mental ailments. And this is how it works. And then when we have joy, we are happy. Happy mind leads to tranquility, passaddhi. When the mind is full of joy, happiness, tranquility, it gains concentration. The concentrated mind can see the deepest level of impermanence in our form, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. Seeing impermanence in all of them, we understand that there is nothing permanent. People normally tend to think that there is a permanent thing called self, which simply evaporates, disappears when we see the subtlest impermanent nature. With this, I want to stop for us to go ahead and do this practice and see how it works for each and every one of us. dukkhapattaca nidukkha bhayapattaca nibbhaya sokapattaca nisoka hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this metta thought in mind, let us listen to the answers to these questions that my friend Brian will ask me.
Okay. First question. How should a person practicing meditation behave and prepare for the last minutes before death?
Oh, that's a very good question. Very good question. As I mentioned yesterday, when the our mind always not with greed, hatred, and delusion. Periodically they arise and they vanish. As soon as they arise, we experience pain. As they go away, we experience pleasure. This yo-yo situation, so to say, always happens in our life. So what we have to do, we remain mindful. Mindful means that whatever arises passes away. Whatever arises, it passes away. Whatever arises, this mantra, like a mantra, we repeat this. Sometimes verbally, sometimes thinking, sometimes feeling. Something rises and falls. Once it is arisen and fallen, there will no longer be even a trace of it to find it. New things arise. For instance, greed, if you focus the mind on greed, and when greed arises and it passes away, when you see it's impermanent, it brings pain, it causes suffering. When you see these disadvantages, adi never, then it cannot stay in our mind. It disappears. When we mindfully reflect, this is called yoniso manasikara. Yoniso manasikara. Or in brief, mindfulness. When we remain mindfulness of these three characteristics of everything, greed, hatred, and delusion. Greed, hatred, and delusion. You keep training your mind all the time. All the time. Perhaps if your practice is very intensive, very serious, then these defilements like greed, hatred, and delusion, each of them you have to deal with the same way. Each of them is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and selfless. Unsatisfactory because each of them brings pain and suffering. Greed brings suffering, suffering. Hatred brings suffering. Delusion brings suffering. But greed is impermanent, hate is impermanent, delusion is impermanent. So when you see impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, you also see that there is no substance in it to stay behind. That is selflessness. This is a big subject. Anyway, you see this all the time. Without any exception, you see this all the time. When you do that, one day you will see your uh, doubt fades away, and your what do you call belief in rituals, belief in the attainment of liberation by following rituals fade away, and your belief in permanent self in 20 ways also disappear. 20 way means in five aggregates you see the uh, notion, it is a notion of self, four ways in each aggregate. Four ways in each aggregate multiply by 5, you have 20 ways of arising notion of self. 60 ways of arising ignorance, what you call craving. We mentioned that earlier. And along with that, delusion also arises. When these three, what we call fetters, that is doubt, believing in following rituals you can attain enlightenment, that belief, and then the notion of self. These are called three fetters. When even one of them disappears from your mind, you enters the stream entry. That is the noble eightfold path in the supramundane level. Stream is a noble eightfold path, nothing else. Stream entry means attaining that noble eightfold path with the supramundane level. That is not mundane level, because ordinary people do not see impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness of anything. But you see it so clearly. And then when you see them very clearly, experience very clearly, very often, every day, one day, all these three fetters will vanish from your mind. You enter the stream entry fruition state. First, the path state by attaining Noble Eightfold Path in that level, and that means realizing Noble Eightfold Path very clearly. You enter the stream entry path first, and then you keep repeating following Noble Eightfold Path again and again and again. See with mindfulness, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness. You keep these exercises again and again and again, and you attain stream entry fruition. That can happen any time in your life. Whether when you are young, it can attain. When you are old, you can attain that. And if you did not attain this state at these two stages, young, middle age, and old age, you will attain it. If you did not attain the stream entry when you are young, or when you are in middle age, or when you are an old person, you will attain that state at the moment of death. This is the guarantee that Buddha has given us. You keep practicing and practicing without any hesitation, any doubt in this teaching, in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And that is how you can keep your mind on the track, and you will attain that state in this very life, at least at the moment of death. Then you must be 100% guaranteed that you will not be reborn in a woeful state of existence. The worst you will be reborn would be human world, the best life, human life. Why? It is only human being that can attain Buddhahood. So that is the answer to your question.
Thank you, Bhante.
Second question.
Second question. Can one attain equanimity, not mind, I guess equanimity with anatta state, from both non-carnal equanimous feelings, ekathasita and nanathasita upeka?
Okay. Ekatasita and anatasita.
Thank you.
Ekatasita. Yeah.
It says, please advise the procedure.
Yes. Equanimity. You can attain equanimity from attaining from what you call through your six senses. When you experience things through six senses, sight, sound, and so forth, if you remain mindful of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness, you are mindful of that all the time, as I mentioned earlier. Then you will see no distinction between one and another. Everything is very clearly marked with impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness. Anicca dukkha anatta. When you see this, it sounds like monotonous, but in a spiritual practice, this monotony brings you equanimity. You are not emotionally attached to one thing or reject another. You remain equanimous. That is samisa upekha. Upekha with greed, hatred, and delusion. And yet you manage to subdue them, reduce them, you gain slowly, your greed disappears, hatred disappears, confusion disappears, and mind remains equanimous. And you have not attained enlightenment. Your greed, hatred, and delusion are not completely vanished, but they are suppressed. There are two. One suppression is called tadangapahana. Tadanga means temporarily, and the other one is vikhambana pahana. Vikhambana means you suppress it. Of course, last is called samucheda pahana. So you temporarily suspend these things. You suspend these things using various, they are opposite. That's called factorial suppression. For instance, when you see impermanence, at that time your notion of permanency will vanish. And then that is called factorial suppression. You use one factor to suppress another. The second suppression is called vikhambana. That is, you suppress all these three temporarily, though, together. Just like when you take a pot and put on a lake, a pond rather, which is covered with what called algae. It's covered with algae. So when you want to take water, clear water, under algae, water is clear. So you take the pot and press the water against the pot against the water, then the algae will give way, and that particular space that is covered with the space of the perimeter of the pot, water is clear, and the algae will leave. Similarly, when you are in jhanic stage or when you are meditating, all these three defilements and other defilements temporarily suppress. That is called vikhambana pana. Vikhambana means suppressing. So during that time, you gain jhanas. And that jhanas are full of equanimity. When you suppress this equanimity and still have not attained jhana, that equanimity is called nanattasita upekha. When you gain jhana, then that jhana, that upekha, that equanimity is called ekattasita upekha. So without attaining full enlightenment, by suppressing, you can gain this kind of equanimity as what you call gehasita or carnal upekha. When you gain jhanas, that jhana is called nekkammasita upekha. Nekkammasita means without greed, hatred and delusion. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay. Next
Okay,
one.
this will be the last question because we have a special 11 o'clock puja that we need to go prepare for.
Yeah.
And you all are welcome to join us. We'll have it posted live on the Katina group Zoom link, which is on the one you used this morning for the Katina ceremony. Okay. Regarding the 10 fetters, are the 10 fetters eradicated in series or one by one or all at once or as and when it arises?
Okay. You overcome that one by one. You will see in Mahasatipatthana Sutta, there's a very beautiful source, very rich resource to learn these sort of things. In the Dhammanupassana, mindfulness of the Dhamma, mindfulness of Dhamma, that section is divided into 5 categories. First is hindrances, second is 5 aggregates, third is overcoming fetters. It is called santang va ajjatang kamachandang. Among fetters, number 1 always is sakkaya ditti. Ajjatang attime sakkaya ditti pajanati. Asantang va ajjatang sakkaya ditti nattime ajjatang sakkaya. Upannana sakkaya ditti yang pahinang va sakkaya ditti nattime ajjatang sakkaya. Pahinasa sanyojanasa ayating anuppado hoti tancha pajanati. Each sanyojana, through eyes, ears, nose and so forth, they arise. As they arise, my quotation may not be perfect. That it in Pali it says particular sanyojana, when it arises, you become aware of it, make effort, let it go. When it goes, you know that it is gone, and what is gone will not arise again. So you make sure that that particular sanyojana, that particular fetter is gone, never arises again, at least during that period. So when you keep training your mind like this again and again, it will vanish from your mind forever. So friends, this overcoming or destroying fetters, just like anything else, is gradual, one by one at a time, and that's how we practice. As Brian said, now we have to go and participate in the second part of Katina celebration. See the Katina's robes here. See the robes, normally the symbolic that has offered already to the Sangha this morning. And we will have puja ceremony just in few seconds. And once again, I want to conclude this morning session, although a little early, wishing all those who are suffering, all those who are in hospital, be well very quickly and return to normal life. The president also may be in the hospital. I think he is recovering rapidly and return to White House, continue his service for the world. And other leaders also continue their wonderful service. And those who are supporting all these projects, hospital staffs, doctors, nurses, and so on, they will continue their wonderful service. And all of them live long in very good health to continue their very selfless service. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.